The truth is, I stopped going to class and I still graduated and became a doctor. But it's not about that. So this is a very weird topic and I might get some hate for this, but just hear me out. In grade school, going to class was mandatory. They took attendance. If you didn't show up, you were marked absent. If you showed up late, then you're called tardy. Going to class actually mattered for your grade. The teacher would record how many times you missed class and you could actually fail. If you missed enough class, you got detention. So it was like there was an attendance police tracking your every move and you'd be put in jail if you didn't go to class, right? That's grade school. Now, let's say you graduated and chose to go to college or university. Congrats, because not everyone gets this opportunity. In university, going to class is no longer mandatory. I know it's different in different schools and in different countries, but just know that it's facts that in some universities, attendance isn't mandatory. So the teacher isn't keeping track of how many times you go to class. In fact, the teacher most likely doesn't even know your name. But the thing is, you still have a schedule. I had biology on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I had genetics on Tuesday, Thursdays. Whatever your major, you still have a schedule, and it is recommended that you still follow that schedule. If you chose to skip class and go to Disneyland on a Monday morning, then hey, that's your choice. But it would be your responsibility to get the notes and get the homework somehow, maybe from your friends who still go to class. You start to notice that going to class doesn't matter as much anymore. And you even start to see some students brag that they don't ever go to class and still ace their exams. Obviously, college is different from grade school. In grade school, they take responsibility for you and actually care that you go to class because poor attendance correlates with poor performance and they don't want their numbers to look bad. But in college, the responsibility shifts to you. You chose to go to college. You chose to take student loans or pay tuition or have your parents pay for you. Maybe you hate your major, or maybe you hate the classes that you're taking. Maybe they don't interest you. It doesn't matter. You chose to go. So it's up to you to figure it out and make something out of the opportunity you were given. What's the worst that can happen? Maybe you don't graduate. Okay. Or you graduate with a useless degree and end up in a career that doesn't make you happy. Okay, fine. It's still just your problem.
Hey y'all, just wanted to sneak in and drag Mike off his soapbox for a minute to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Shortform. Shortform provides some of the best summaries of books out there. I've been using Shortform to explore productivity and self-development books. For example, I've been really interested in learning about motivation and psychology. So stumbling upon Carol Dweck's mindset in Shortform eventually led me to buy the actual book and make this banger video right up here. It just goes to show that you can find valuable information, even outside the classroom, that inspires you and motivates you to dive deeper into different topics. So the next 200 visitors that go to shortform.com/Mike and Matty can get 5 days of unlimited access and a discounted annual subscription. So head on over and start reading more books than you did last year.
But now, after college, we have grad school, professional school. For me, it was medical school. And I tell you what, I can count on my one hand how many times I actually went to class during medical school. And here I am, graduated, I'm a doctor, and I'm taking care of sick patients on a daily basis. But the point is this, you're on your own. They accepted you to medical school or law school or your PhD for a reason. I was on the medical school admissions committee, and when choosing who to accept and who to reject, grades mattered because we only accepted students who we were confident would actually graduate. We don't look at your attendance. We don't care if you don't go to class. We don't care if you don't take any notes. What mattered was your own self-motivation. Are you a self-directed learner? You have a test on cardiology on November 30th. I don't care where you get the information from. I don't care how you study. I don't care how much time you spend. All I care about is that you pass the test. You demonstrate that you have the knowledge to become a doctor. That's it. So in medical school, our lecture halls were usually not even half full of students. Maybe a quarter of the students went to class. But here's the big difference. The students who didn't go to class, they weren't Mickey Mousing around, they were working hard. My roommate, first year of medical school, went to class 0 times because he had back problems and he couldn't walk. He stayed home and used the Feynman technique and active recall and scored the top 5% in our class every single test. You could easily say that he worked harder than most. The thing about professional school is that we already know how we personally learn best. We made it this far. It's up to us to continue growing, to continue being proactive and self-driven, to continue finding ways to learn more effectively. For me, going to class was useless. My brain isn't wired to absorb information at 7 in the morning. Oftentimes, the professor knew the material wrote from the textbook, but the professor wasn't an actual doctor who applied the information in the real world. So to me, a lot of the times, their explanations made no sense at all. They were so far removed that they didn't understand our struggles. So I turned to other resources. I found YouTubers who were actually my age, but their explanations made so much more sense to me because they were one step ahead of me in the learning process and had recently been in my shoes. I found test prep teachers who taught me how to actually learn with the exam in mind so that I could score higher. I found real doctors with videos explaining how this information would be useful in the real world. This is the time in our lives where we are completely responsible for learning the information. The school is just there to give you a degree or a certificate to prove that you know your shit. But it's all up to you to do the learning. Because think of this question again in this new scenario. What's the worst that can happen? It's no longer just your problem. In college, if you failed, then you won't get the job that you want, boo-hoo. But now we're beyond college. As a doctor, if I don't know my shit, that could be someone else's life. If you don't step up and take responsibility for your own learning, someone else could go bankrupt or lose their home or go to jail or die. Maybe you will grow up to be the next professor who teaches our epidemiology class in medical school. And maybe all the students will ditch your class because you can't teach it in a way that actually resonates with them. So remember this, it's not about, oh, I'm so cool I didn't go to class. It's not about that. It's about taking responsibility. It's about growing into a lifelong learner, taking your studies seriously, paying forward all the knowledge you had the opportunity to learn, and making a difference in someone else's life.